Is he ready to go? Not ready to go? Maybe ready to go? I don't know what that means, Pledge. He's getting dressed. So he's shirtless on his.
No way.
Good Lord.
Oh, my gosh. RJ, please. It's a family show, dude. Come on.
A shirtless RJ Ochoa joining us now on the Buyers Barricades guest line.
It's a family show, RJ. You know that.
Well, all the messages about somebody's feet have kind of changed my perception on what the quality of this show really is. It's a busy day around these parts, busy time of year. I had some chicken on the smoker. I was building a trampoline, but I was doing that in a tank top, and I don't think you guys need to see all that.
No,
I would rather a tank top than a nipple, just for the record. I mean, when Pledge said you were shirtless, that's not a tank top. But
I was shirtless in transition when I was talking to him. So I wanted to be in transition while talking to Pledge specifically. Y'all don't deserve that.
I'm glad that you were comfortable enough with James Pledger to change in front of him.
That's how you coach the show together, and you'll see all parts of one another. You guys know better than anybody.
Yeah, trust me. No.
I have seen Joe's feet, yes.
But hasn't everybody? I mean.
Well, we have now, yes.
Wait a minute, though. You also saw Joe's walk of atonement, as I understand. Joe paid up, and you're welcome. I haven't heard a thank you from Jason Minix. In fact, he left me off the social thank you when he was bragging about his beer.
I did not. Well, you did get your shout out, and you got it on air, but obviously you didn't hear that part. And I've got to be quite honest with you, RJ Ochoa. I walk in, there's a case of beer on my desk, and Joe with his goofy ass look, I took the picture and I posted it, and I had forgotten that you helped me get 2 12-packs because Joe owes me so much beer. Just seeing a case just felt normal.
You know what, Jason? I'll forgive that because we all make mistakes, of different varieties, some small and mild, like forgetting to tag, one of their good friends in a social post out of gratitude, but that's okay. We don't all make mistakes to the buffoon level that Joe did in taking the Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys. Joe, I hope you learned your lesson.
Well, if
he's not taking him, he's not willing to do that again Monday night against the Texans.
And I tell you what, I may have a pretty good shot against the Texans, so that might happen. Who knows? You're right, RJ. I can't the buffoonery of turning the ball over. Zeke Elliott still playing for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand the Cowboys. I just think they hate me.
There's I know you're both familiar with the catalog of The Office, the American version, and there's an episode where Pam is seeing Michael Scott, the character that Steve Carell plays, dating her mother. And she's very upset about this. Because she knows Michael to be a gross human being, somebody who takes pride in their feet, things like that. And she's telling him, you need to stop dating my mother. And they reach a point of confrontation. And he says, you know what? I'm going to date her even harder. And she says, what does that mean? And he says, oh, you know exactly what it means. And that is our relationship with the Dallas Cowboys. Stop being idiots. And they say, we're going to be idiots harder. We're going to find a way. You think that you have experienced the lowest of lows. You think that we can't embarrass you even more. Check this out. The first possession after Zeke Elliott's fumble, we are team nepotism, baby. We're handing it right back to number 50.
And I know that drives a lot of people nuts. There are a lot of different coaches that say somebody makes a mistake, especially if they don't used to, give it to them. Again, you haven't lost confidence in them. Others, you can fumble and not see the ball the rest of the game, and you just go with that. I'm more curious your thoughts on the just god-awful play we saw from Cooper Rush. Now, mind you, in the first half of that game, Joe Reinagle sent on a group text that included James Pledger, Cooper doesn't look all that bad.
He didn't in the first half. Well, at points in the first half.
Like pregame warm-up?
He was throwing the ball great.
Cooper Rush had 43 yards passing in 2024. That's a very difficult thing to do. He did this on 23 pass attempts. I mean, it's a very extraordinarily difficult thing to do. It's so extraordinarily difficult that it had not happened in 23 years. The last person, because we deserve this, that this happened to was Andy Wright, who was quarterbacking the Dallas Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is honestly the company that Cooper Rush is in. I think I would have liked to have thought, I should say, but Joe Reinagle exists, that most people learned their lesson that, Cooper didn't carry the Cowboys in 2022 or anything like that based on everything we've seen since then. But the proof was in the pudding. We talked about this last week. That 5-game run when the Cowboys won 4 games and obviously lost to the Eagles, their defense allowed 15.8 points per game. They entered last week allowing 28.1. He did not have the same, cast of Avengers behind him where he just had to kind of live and drive the bus. And God bless Cooper Rush. I do think he tried his damnedest, and it just isn't enough when you're not a qualified quarterback in the NFL. You can be a very good quarterback like Dak Prescott is, and very, poorly like he has this season, and watch the rest of this current Dallas Cowboys team combust around you.
Well, RJ, a lot of this, and I will say this, and Jason and I have talked about it. Mike McCarthy has to know, right? He's got a backup quarterback. His offensive line stinks. He's got no running game. As the play caller, don't you have to have some imagination to do something that actually works? And he doesn't.
The first game of the season last year when the Cowboys beat the Giants 40-0, and that was Mike McCarthy's first game as the play caller after Kellen Moore's departure, there was a moment where CeeDee Lamb got open on this cute little bubble screen of sorts. And it was so clear and it was so obvious that he had been schemed open. And those are the kinds of things that brilliant offensive play callers and designers in the NFL do all the time. They find ways to create advantages for their talented players. And Mike McCarthy did that. I mean, we saw it. There's proof, there's evidence, there's data. For some reason, he has regressed, turtled up. Maybe he just doesn't care, and he's just watching the grains of sand tick down this hourglass the way that all of us are. But right now, the Dallas Cowboys wide receivers are averaging the fewest amount of yards per separation across the entire NFL. Troy Aikman was right. Kevontae Turpin or whoever can get pissed off about it, but Troy knows ball. And obviously, it's all in the pudding as mentioned. So I think that there's an enormous amount of blame to go around. Certainly, you can put the bulk of it on McCarthy if you want, but the reality is he just doesn't have the horses. Hey, Mike McCarthy, go make Cooper Rush and Jalen Tolbert into a prominent NFL connection on a week-to-week basis.
Doesn't seem that different. No, I'm kidding. It's just such a dumpster fire, RJ, and I think we all knew this was going to be a difficult year. I don't think any of us thought it was going to be as bad as it was. The Dak injury news makes it worse. All the other injuries certainly didn't help the defense, but it's just been a straight up dumpster fire, but there's still plenty of drama in Dallas. The Micah Parsons comments, which again, Micah, when you're winning games, saying stuff on your podcast, it kind of gets overlooked. When you're losing, it's different. How concerned are you that stuff like what happened on Sunday night and then his podcast Monday ends up affecting that locker room?
Well, in chronological order, I in the moment didn't find what Micah said to be targeted at Mike McCarthy. I understood what he explained to be his intent. I understood that in the moment. But my reaction was, this isn't wise. To your point, Jason, history is written by the winners, and all the losers get is pointed at and laughed at. And that's who you are right now. And you can complain about it all you want, but there are pros and cons associated with being a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And I obviously understand, and Micah should too, as a member of the media machine, that everybody's going to tee off on that Monday morning. And you can agree or not with whatever you want, Damian Woody's comments or things like that. But there is something incredibly ironic about, oh man, this is messed up. Check out my podcast later this afternoon where I'll be reacting to it. And so it's like, I feel hypocritical because I like that Micah has a podcast. The reality is the moment Micah walks away from the NFL, his attention magnet lowers completely. So I completely understand and encourage him and any Dallas Cowboys player, NFL player, whatever, to capitalize on the moment, to get as much juice out of this as you can. But if your primary interest is winning, if you want to talk about not being a distraction, it is kind of silly to tease what's coming on Monday at 4 p.m. And this is all with Micah just being a player on a standard first-round rookie contract. When you hand him that $30 million, whatever it's going to be, per year contract, he's going to have even more sway, even more leverage, and become even more untouchable. So it's a Kobayashi Maru. I know you both know exactly what that is.
Yes. Little Star Trek reference.
Oh,
there.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Very,
I love
very
that.
good.
Way to go,
Very
John.
good.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, Jason didn't know that, but I know that. I'm a big Star Trek fan, RJ. I like the old ones, not the new ones.
Of course.
Of course. Captain Kirk. All right, let me ask you this. Now, just playing devil's advocate here, RJ. The season obviously is a wash. Everybody, the Cowboys win 2 more games. We'll all be surprised because I'm not even sure they could beat the Giants or Carolina at this point in time.
Oh, stop.
I'm serious.
You picked them to beat the Eagles.
Well, I know, and I learned my lesson, so I'll never pick them again, not this year at all. So we were talking about free agents. Zach Martin's a free agent after this season. So is DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't think either one of those guys come back. And then, so what do you do with Micah Parsons? Do you spend all that money on him, or do you look for somebody that might take him off your hands?
Well, I think that, I would pay him. He's just, there are maybe 5 players on an NFL team that aren't quarterbacks that completely change everything by just existing. And Micah's on that very short list. And I'm including offensive and defensive players. But that being said, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't entertain the idea, if you don't have the conversation. And what I will say is you are already past the point of handling this as efficiently as you possibly could, right? Micah was eligible for a contract extension this past offseason. So in a perfect world, if you had a forward-thinking front office that wasn't just full of hubris and arrogance and things like that, you would have gotten that done, and you would have gotten the absolute most out of this. You would have gotten a perfect piece of meat, and Jason Minix would have smoked it for you, and everybody would have devoured that meal and enjoyed every single bite. But you've already cut off a piece, and you've already thrown it away. Maybe you don't like the fat. Maybe you've trimmed it. Maybe you got some of the meat in the process. So because of that, you should consider it. You should consider that you're not in position to necessarily contend. Now, I think it's stupid, and people scream this in March and April, to act like having Dak and CD and Micah on the price tags that they would ultimately be if Micah got extended with the team is impossible to overcome, because it's not. But you should have that conversation, especially if you, the front office, feel like the off-the-field things do bother you, are a distraction, because you can't ask him to stop doing those things. You can't ask anybody. So I would lean keeping him, but I definitely think you should have that conversation. There's nobody you shouldn't be having that conversation with right now. Obviously, you can't with Dak and CD because their deals have just been taken care of, so it's not practical. But there's nobody on this roster who's 100% safe, in my opinion. They're that down bad. And honestly, not to be long-winded, sorry, you should ask the opinion of your future head coach. You should be waiting to see what is Bill Belichick or Ben Johnson or Robert Saleh, or whoever you want, Kellen Moore.
Dion.
What do they ultimately think?
Dion.
Or, yeah, what does Dion think? I mean, that person needs to have a voice in this conversation as well.
RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com mentioned him. The Dion circles, and it's interesting, like Michael Irvin talking about it. Dion keeps saying he's not interested. He has no plans of leaving right now. And I think everybody that leaves always says they have no plans and right now. Those are very key words, because right now and plans, we know they change. Even if he takes his computer over and shows that beautiful setting from his office and all of that kind of stuff, I just think that Dion and Jerry, I don't know if that's a good mix. Both want the spotlight. It's not big enough.
I think that Jerry has obviously tried to create his own version of Tom Landry before, what with Jason Garrett, right? Like this homegrown guy. You see that a lot in soccer. I know that you both really appreciate that. And Dion would certainly check a box, right? And Dion would it'd be somewhat representative of who the Dallas Cowboys have been in the Jerry Jones era. Signing Dion was the most competitive thing he ever did, was the most actual on the field mortgaging that he did to capture another championship. Look, the Dion thing has reached levels of success that I think everybody thought was impossible. So I'm not here to undermine Dion and his ability to do anything, but he's never coached in the NFL. And I will say, people say things like, oh man, but it'd be great for the content. It'd be great like this. There can be a point where there's too much content. There could be a point where you're drowning in content. And I will tell you this, my life will be a daily stress fest, because I will not be able to keep up with Deion Sanders as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys in my job. I'll have to hire an entirely new wing of staffers, because we won't be able to capacitate it all.
Well, it's interesting, too, because the Cowboys don't need a quarterback, and I think Dion might want to go somewhere where his kid's going to play.
Ooh,
and that's not going to happen with the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately.
Yeah, And people are going to bring up Shador's name a lot, and I understand it. And I would not be shocked if at some point, in the pre-draft process, he has a quote or a line or a comment that's like, "Oh, I'd love to be the quarterback, for the team my dad played for," something like that. I mean, because it's worth it to connect yourself to the Dallas Cowboys in the pre-draft process. We've seen that from lots of players who never had a chance to get to them. Bijan Robinson, Myles Garrett, just as far as recent memory is concerned. But again, for those of you who only get your Dallas Cowboys information from Facebook and not from smart people like Jason and Joe, it's not possible. You can be mad, you can moan, you can groan, you can complain, you can pat on the ground. The finances and the sort of facts of it all point to the undisputed fact that Dak Prescott is the quarterback of this team for the foreseeable future.
RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com. We talk about the future, the next year future. Monday night. Jonathan Mingo going to make his debut for the Dallas Cowboys. Is there a scenario? Let me rephrase this. What is the scenario for the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Houston Texans on a Monday Night Football?
Well, I'll say this. They're going to have a bit of good luck in the building. I'm going to a game for the first time in I don't even know how long it's been since I've attended a Cowboys game in the stands. I'm very much looking forward to that.
For the record, I've gone to a couple this year. It kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, we've understood and identified that you're the problem.
Yes.
It's just an infection that has spread way too far.
That 3-year winning streak is what?
It's what have you done for me lately?
Oh, okay.
Enjoy your free beer. Anyway, to beat the Houston Texans, there will be a game. I mean, look, this is going to be a 3, 4, 5 max win team at the end of it. But there will be a game where they just crush somebody. And we're just like, what the hell? Like, we are just like, how? And it may not be the Texans. It may be the Panthers, the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. But there will be a moment and there will be a day and they will rope us in to say, well, what if? Because we're that dumb, to be honest with you. We are that dumb as a society. And the Texans, I'm sorry, Pledge, and I did talk to you while I was shirtless, and I meant everything that. The Texans are a team that likes to shoot themselves in the foot, too, and not the way Joe does. So, I mean, to beat Houston, they're going to have to let Houston get in their own way and open the door wide enough, and maybe the Dallas Cowboys can squeak through.
So you're saying there's a chance. Are we making a beer bet on this, RJ?
No, I'm not that dumb whatsoever. I mean,
Joe's taking Houston.
Well, of course he is. He's
Joe's taking Dallas.
Oh, well, I mean, that is just outright crazy, Joe. I mean, seriously, I'll take Houston if you want to do that, and I'll bet on you. Jason can be my beer ambassador. If I win, he can have my beer. If I lose, I'll pay up.
I tell you what are your plans on Monday when you get up to Dallas? Do you have any plans yet?
It's a little bit unwritten. I don't want to get doxxed, but we've got some stuff.
I'll tell you now. Go to that Bill Bates Ultimate Tailgate Party. It's incredible. All you can eat barbecue and really good barbecue. All you can drink Flight by Yingling. A couple hours before the game. That is, and I know there's 1,000 people there every game, so I can't say it's the best kept secret. I didn't know about it until this year, and my goodness, it's incredible. I highly recommend that.
Maybe Bill Bates is the curse of this year. You ever think about that? I mean, you didn't know about it.
He's been doing this tailgate for a long time, and I think Jay Novacek is hosting it this year. I see him at every one of those things, and Charles Haley has been at a couple this year. It's good times, man. If you're looking for something to do before the game, that's what I highly recommend.
I will consider it, and allow me to throw one last thing out for you two to chew on. We talked a lot forever how there was maybe a curse of Jimmy Johnson because he wasn't in the Ring of Honor, things like that. The last home game that this team won was the night that he went into the Ring of Honor. Ever since then, the 5 home games since then have been the 5 in which they trailed at some point by at least 20 points. I mean, maybe putting his name up there did more harm than it did good. And I think it belongs there, but maybe they just amplified the curse is all I'm saying.
Take it down.
Yeah, Tom Laundry would like a word with you.
Wow. Yeah, that's when you know it's a different kind of bad.
Out of curious, kids your age, when you see that, you work in the social world with bloggingtheboys.com and you see Tom Laundry, do you just figure autocorrect and the kid wasn't whoever was doing that? I call him a kid, but they just didn't realize that autocorrected it the wrong way?
Yeah, first of all, I'm, kids my age, I put together a trampoline for my son today, so I resent that. But second of all, Yeah, I mean, we're past the point as a society where people have made too many public mistakes. It's way too difficult to keep track of them. Like, remember when, was it John Travolta called Adina Menzel, like Adele Deem or whatever? Like,
I have no idea.
You know, these things float in the wind. You know what I mean? Like, we'll forget about Tom Landry.
That's unforgivable. That whoever that was should be fired.
Well, I mean, I'm not a proponent for calling for firings, but yeah, it is pretty unforgivable. I mean, the Cowboys have treated Jason Garrett with more regard and respect than they have Tom Landry and, you know, Jimmy Johnson in recent history, which really tells you, again, all about where they are today as a franchise.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bloggingtheboys.com. First time we've ever talked with a shirtless RJ Ochoa, although technically by the time he came on camera, a shirt was on. Well done, Superman.
You think that was the first, but, you know, there have been some times that the camera's been off, and if you think it was just the shirt, you're kidding yourselves.
Pledge has got a big smile on his face.
Every stereotype of blogger types that are in their underwear in their grandma's basement are right there in front of you, RJ.
I got some Mountain Dew in the fridge right now, dude. I'm about to eat some candy bars. I'm about to play some World of Warcraft. It's going to rule.
Oh, you better go jump on that trampoline. Make sure it's safe.
It is safe. I have the blitzers on my hands to prove it. This thing took me like 3 hours. I mean, what a freaking joke. Why? How have we not evolved as a society to, you know, send this to the person much more equipped and ready to install?
I agree.
It said it was easy to put together in 15 minutes.
They all say that.
It says more about you.
Hey, I hope you each have a wonderful day.
Yep.
But I hope Joe's is slightly better.
Thank you.
3% better.
I appreciate it.
Well,
he needs it. He lost a lot of beer.
I did.
He did. RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com on the Buyers Barricades guest line, where they provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com.
He's one of a kind, that's for sure.
Yeah, that he is.
I'm not saying that's good or bad, but he's one of a kind.
Uh-huh.
I would love that guy. You know that.
Mm-hmm.